Hey guys, what is going on? RedMaster here, and welcome back to the episode of Cards and Castles TV commentary, where we have some good matches set up for you guys today. Now, obviously, I wanted to get a video out sooner, but a little bit of a stomach bug over the weekend kind of blocked me, so kind of wanted to let it simmer a bit, hopefully die down, and of course it has, so now we're here. Just kind of a little heads up as to maybe a little off in the videos. Honestly, hopefully it's not too much of a big deal, but I kind of wanted to put that out there for you guys to know. Anyway, again, like I said, good lineup for TV commentary, so I don't want to kind of draw this out any further. Let's go ahead and get into the matches, starting with our first matchup here, and see what's going to happen. Alright, so for our first match here, we have Titan's Rook taking on Lord Sberty. Now, of course, Sberty using the classic Last Will colors. I think he pretty much mains at this point. And of course, you can see it there. Flamestorm, Tarius Files, Blue Firebolt, and Craxus, all kind of decent staples here. Titan's hand, you can't really tell what's going on in there yet. I mean, we'll see it eventually, but yeah, for now, it's kind of interesting what he kind of pulls out here. It's something that, you know, we haven't really seen surface in a while here, but we'll continue on the match. Titan going to throw out the first move with the Salahar Spitefish? No, that's a Salahar Rider. Hello? And of course, Sberty not being able to do anything in his hand until turn 3 with the Tarius Files, seeing how he's got Arcanon, Craxus, and the Blue Fire Bolt. Metal of Bravery from Titan brings out the Behemothra, and of course, Salahar going to go ahead and attack 2 for face, coming the game at an early 1820. So we're going to go ahead here and take the Blue Firebolt, smack the Behemothra, noticing that big threat. And with Behemothra out in the field, you can kind of put in your mind that Titan went for a more classical monster style. Again, something we haven't seen in a while. I mean, I personally haven't tried classic monsters in a while. Honestly, I don't think they're at that level yet where they can be used in, you know, competitively like this. But again, the King Kaiju buff has recently seen that big boy get some, you know, some support, some really, he's in a good place right now. We'll leave it at that, I guess, with his stat line. So we'll see if he makes an appearance, you know, in other decks and other, you know, areas. Spoiler alert, he does pop up later in the match, but we'll see how that kind of goes later on. So for now, back to the matchup here. Behemothra does fall. So we're going to go ahead and pass the turn over to Titan. Titan smacks another 2 for the Spitefish. Not Spitefish. I keep calling it a Spitefish because it's both Salahar Spitefish and Salahar Rider. Rider smacks 2 more off the castle, and Magic Eater gets summoned here. So Sberty going to actually, I think, is he forced to use the, yeah, he's kind of forced to use the Flamestone. Flamestorm? My English doesn't work today, and I have no idea why. But anyway, Sberty forced to use that Flamestorm early to get rid of the Magic Eater, and that was a smart play. The longer that Magic Eater is out on the board, the more chance it has to grow in size to the point where Sberty with his hand may not be able to contain the Eater. So smart kind of taking it out. Even though he doesn't get the Tarius File draw, it's, you know, taking out Eater, I would say, is a big benefit regardless. But anyway, continue on to the matchup here. Sberty now down 12 to 18. He'll throw out a Lumberjack. He has the gold. Might as well do it to get the draw as well. Titan on the other hand, there's a Salahar Spitefish. Kind of interesting to see this in the deck, mostly because Spitefish is not actually considered a monster. As you saw there on the card moments ago, the tag does not, you know, doesn't have any sort of tag in there. So I'm not sure why Titan decided to run Spitefish. Again, people have been experimenting him a lot lately, though, so, I mean, you never know. But anyway, we'll continue on here. Sberty going to go ahead and throw at the Tarius Files, kill off the Lumberjack for draw, and again, throw out the Rider. Yep, he'll throw out the Rider to block for the incoming Spitefish. So back over to Titan. Titan, of course, smacks the Salahar Rider. He'll take 2 damage to face, but Sberty now having to deal with attacks on his next turn. Behemothra and Elvish Thief going to come out to kind of force him to make some sort of play here. We do see a Flamestorm, so ideally this would have been a great setup for a Tarius File Flamestorm, but however, you see the Spitefish tax taking into effect here, only able to use 4 gold rather than 6. So he'll throw out another Tarius Files to block for the Elvish Thief to end the turn, so hoping to find that Flamestorm value. Titan, meanwhile, throws out the Voyager, plus the King Kaiju, as I just mentioned at the beginning. He'll use the Elvish Thief to swipe one of the Tarius Files. He wants that treasure, he wants to invest, doesn't matter if Lord Sberty gets a little bit of draw here and there from it. Flamestorm from the Sberty going to go ahead and burn off not only the Taurus files, but the Thief, Voyager, and reveal the Kaiju position as well. But as you can see, Sberty is getting in a position where his castle is getting slightly weaker, although we see a priest in his hands, so hopefully he can recover some bit of health here. So Disintegrate on the Behemothra, Darkbender comes out, Lumberjack comes out. They can't reach the Kaiju from the spawn, so even though Sberty knows where the Kaiju is, but not able to really do anything about it, so he'll let that Kaiju come up. Kai Jr. coming out as well, plus a Lumberjack, so of course, kind of funneling down monsters here, although not exactly the best strategy considering Darkbender is right there. Lumberjack going to go ahead. Actually, no. Fear on Kaiju pushes back the bigger threat. Dwarf Miner goes ahead and attacks the Kai Jr. Do another Dwarf Miner. Followed up by, I think, the 2 priests, right? There's one being able to provide the health for a, not really a Lumberjack trade, but of course, making sure Sberty's Lumberjack does survive. So again, the value that you see from that minor priest health bump, very, very important in small interactions like these. And we're going to see another priest here momentarily, and that will further buff all the health or pretty much all of these units. And we'll see how Titan reacts. Salahar Rider comes out, plus an Armory, so I think that's going to deal with the Lumberjack. Yes, it will. Meanwhile, keeping the Rider alive. Vanishing Strike on the Kaiju. That will, of course, take out the Dwarven Miner, at least one of the miners, and then Kai Jr. finishes off the other one, leaving Sberty with 2 priests and 1 Darkbender. Sberty, though, does have that Arbiter return, so pretty much, I would say he's right now pretty safe in terms of his health. He can bump that up without really much consequence whenever he decides to. But for now, he'll use these priests, or at least use one priest, clears off the Salahar Rider, and of course, General taking a little bit of damage there. Meanwhile, pushing everything else up, though, and of course, Titan with not only these colors, but his deck archetype, he's gonna have a difficult time to, of course, fight this back. We see he actually uses King Kaiju, so that's pretty much all of his gold in one card here. So we'll see if it's worth it. We'll see Priest take out the Armory momentarily. That will, of course, lower the Kaiju stats. Yep, there goes the Armory. So now Kaiju a bit weaker. Arcanon walks into Kaiju, so in a way it does protect him from castle damage, but we gotta remember with General, since Kaiju is a last will unit, Lord Sberty does get a Kai Jr. of his own. Of course, Darkbender finishing off the Kaiju. Kai Jr. pops out from him as well. And of course, actually, Sberty uses that as a stepping stone for Kraxus drone. Of course, not taking damage thanks to Kraxus's armor. So Titan in a tough position here. And again, we really saw this match turned around here from early. It kind of went from early monster aggression that put down Sberty, mainly because Sberty didn't really have a lot of options in his hand, but we see he turned it around beautifully, and again, it's kind of why Last Will is it's such a powerful deck, such a authoritative deck, if you will. It really has a lot to work with here, and we see tools like Kraxus come out, the burns, the heals. They have a lot of things at their disposal, which easily surpass a lot of other decks right now. But in the meantime, we're going to see, let's see, I mean, it's going to be a matter of him finishing off. You see the Arbiter return, getting some health back, smack the castle for 4, Kai Jr., Priest, and I think the rest of the match here is just, it's just going to be a slow castle burn here. But I'll let the rest of the match play out here, and I'll talk to you guys just for a moment here before our next matchup here. So yeah, like I said, Last Will, a very demanding, well, not really demanding, but a very authoritative deck. One that really hasn't been able to be stopped. With each patch that kind of comes out, Last Will isn't really usually affected, and in fact, that they still find a way to do very well given their circumstances. Again, the latest pass, actually, you can throw Priest into that mix. That they got a little helping hand from that as well. Last Will being able to increase their castle's health further to avoid some sudden death losses there, and as you can see, it does pay off with smaller interactions as well, as like I mentioned earlier in the matchup here. But anyway, that's going to do it for match number 1. Great match by both of these two. Sberty coming out on top of the Last Will. I'm interested to see more of the monsters, though. Maybe, hopefully, they can make it more of an appearance. I will mention Coruscope is something that we've probably seen a lot of lately, so I wouldn't be surprised if someone decides to take the monster deck and kind of fuse it with Coruscope as like a little backup there, and of course, Meanwhile, focus their efforts on big monsters. So maybe I'll actually make that. Anyway, with that being said, let's go ahead and jump into match number 2 here. Again, great match with both of these guys. But let's see what the next match has in store for us. Alright, so our next match is going to be Drink taking on Duncan 88. I don't know I don't remember what Duncan's running at this point. But I do know what Drink's running. I think it's a interesting concoction between Last Will and Awaken in Pirate Warlock. Or it might be just kind of a good stuff deck thrown together. I mean, I've played Drink a couple times in Ranked Threads, I think. Not the latest one, but I think in the past 3 ones, I've at least had one match with him in there. But anyway, diverting away from the action here, Drink going ahead and starting out with the Salahar Rada, which just got killed by the Questing Knight, as you could see. Followed by Mischievous in the following turn, and Duncan now responding with the Questing Knight, like I mentioned. Finishing off the Salahar Rider, dealing 2 damage to the castle, so already bringing the game to 20-16. Imp's Burn takes out the Questing Knight. Imp gonna go ahead and smack the castle again. So a lot of early pressure early on. We see the game already down 7 points of health from Duncan, but again, he does run Crusader, so there is a possibility of heal being in that deck. Dragon Knight coming out, of course. Dragon Knight itself gonna finish off Imp. And, of course, the Faithful Drake leave as the body to kind of pick up the scraps here. Imp going to go ahead and get summoned another time. Being thrown off to the kind of bottom corner down there. At least, you know, not really a corner, but you guys get the idea. Bottom lane there. Just so that way he can get his burn. Meanwhile, interesting. I haven't really seen that yet. So, what's the card's called again? I forgot the name of it. Go back. Heavenly Shield, that's what it was. So, Heavenly Shield in combination with Knight of Flowers. Now, I will admit Heavenly Shield isn't really a card that we see all too often. We do know the importance that armor does play with cards like Craxus, but, I mean, maybe he's trying to translate it into a Flower Knight early on, maybe? I don't know. We'll see. We'll see as the match kind of goes on here. So let's go ahead. I guess you can kind of leave it as is. Meanwhile, Drink to go ahead, burn 2 more off the castle with his Imp. Opts to Darkfire, which... Now, I get the idea of killing off the Faithful Drake here, but honestly, I think Darkfire was a bit much of an investment. I don't think that was the smartest choice. Considering that you do have the Knight of Flowers to get rid of eventually. You might need that damage later, but you know what? It does get rid of the Faithful Drake, so we'll see how that impacts the game later on. Knight of Flower is going to get his little buff there, so now 4-7 thanks to the Heavenly Shield. And Inspire being played brings out a Guardian and Hassan City Guard. Flame Shield, though, being played on the Knight of Flowers, plus another armor, 2, so 6-11, that is. That is a... So, I mean, okay. We've seen this deck, or at least decks like this before, in which they power up 1 unit to a certain point there, with things like, of course, Flame Shield, Heavenly Shield. So, I guess it's no surprise that this deck still exists. I didn't think it was anywhere personally, but you know what? People can make whatever they want work. We'll see how it plays in the game later on. Drink opting to respond with a Minotaur to kind of, I guess, meet that question. Knight of Flowers. Meanwhile, a Paladin being thrown out to intercept that Minotaur, which Drink will take the trade in, incinerate that Paladin to finish it off, and a Southport Assassin. Very good follow-up to that, considering that now the Assassin does threaten this Knight of Flowers there. So if Duncan doesn't really play anything to intercept this Assassin damage, he'll lose the 1 unit that he spent a lot of resources buffing up. So we'll see if Duncan can respond to this. Hassan City Guard going to go ahead and weaken the Minotaur. Not kill it yet, but another Inspire being bought in. Guardian, I think, is going to... Okay, no. Guardian kills a Minotaur. Hassan City Guard is hopefully diverting the Assassin damage, which he does get. So, of course, not exactly what Drink was hoping for with that Assassin murder, but very good heads up by Duncan. Being able to throw out, you know, little units to hopefully intercept the murder, which they did. And, of course, Andrew being bought up by Drink as well to kind of hopefully help the situation. And Vermin Tunnel, which... Props to you if you're running Vermin Tunnel in a deck like that. I don't really think it's all too worth it, but you know what? People can make whatever they want work. I'm not going to sit here and complain about it. So, Courthouse, Master at Arms from Duncan. So, a lot being thrown in Drink's face right now. Northland's Ranger going to come out, and I assume, yeah, block. which is a smart choice to do here. No really reason to hit the Hassan City Guard, especially since Master at Arms would have been able to hit that Ranger and, of course, fuel something like the Knight of Flowers a bit more. Headless Horseman going to come up, weaken the Ranger a little bit, and okay, so actually going in for the kill there. There's the Vermin Tunnels in effect now. Vermin Tunnels going to go ahead, spawned on the Hassan City Guard. However, that does give Master at Arms a target to smack, which is unfortunate, but you know what? Honestly, if you put the rats in that guard, it's no big loss. But honestly, a lot coming on Drink's play right now. Dragon's Fire going to go ahead and clean a little bit of this up. We see a lot of rats being sacrificed into the Knight of Flowers, and of course, Andrew's going to be the card to finish it off. Rat going to go ahead up top, trade with the Earth Knight, and that does leave Duncan with a scout to hit face. But both of these guys are pretty even in terms of both cards. Not in life, though. But they're going to get to the point where they run out of cards fairly quickly. Neither of which are sporting very strong draw at the moment. At least not from what we've seen. Salharati coming from Drink. That's going to finish off the scout. Deal 2 more damage to the Earth Knight. Okay, not really where that damage wanted to be. T-Rex going to go ahead and push the Swordsman back. A great move to intercept the Swordsman. Honestly, T-Rex is probably the best answer for Swordsman out there, in my opinion. So, good on Drink for having it in that deck. And, of course, Mordock following up will give the T-Rex a little bit more power, as you can see there. Pushing back the Swordsman again and pushing the Judge up, which is fine. Duncan, though, opting to throw the Nunchuck Nun. Stacking the T-Rex, giving that Judge a little bit more power. That will trade nicely with the, or at least kill off the Mordock. And, of course, Earth Knight finishing off the Headless Horseman. That's what I was trying to mention there. But anyway, we can see it's already game over in the hand on the side of Drink, thanks to Incinerate and the T-Rex Chomp. But overall, very strong match. Again, interesting deck from both players. Not really a lot of things that you see too often, but then again, I like to kind of throw in a little match like this to show that, you know, the meta isn't the be-all and end-all. People are still having fun with different combinations. Even if they're not ideal, sometimes people just want to have fun with certain decks, and you can certainly see that with this deck here. A little interesting combination there. Honestly, although what did lose Duncan the match was probably the early aggression early on, and the lack of heals in his hand. Now, obviously, he could have drew any sort of heal, Hands of the Saint, Church, Arbiter. Maybe it just wasn't lucky for him, but yeah, that early aggression really piled up on Duncan, and eventually, you know, was pretty much the reason that he fell into this match. If he didn't take so many shots early on, a couple of unfortunate burns, that's how that ending was able to kind of happen. So, regardless, a good match from both of these two, like I said previously. But let's move on to match number 3 now and see what our final match has for us. Alright, now to preface this last match here, it's going to be the 30-turn match you see on your screen there, but it's not the length that I'm really going to be discussing here. I want to preface that both of these guys have some interestingly long names, so in order to save me some time and oxygen, I'm going to refer to the red side as Hap, blue side as Fed. You guys know who you are, you know, if you recognize the username, so I'm just going to save some time here by just mentioning Hap and Fed. That's all I'm going to do here. So anyway, let's go ahead and hop into the 30-turn matchup here, looking like Pirate Viking taking on Pirate Druid. Should be an interesting matchup here, as the Pirate Druid has suffered since the Fenrir cost increased, but we'll see if it's able to bounce back in this matchup, see how it shows a little bit more of its power. Shows that it can't be put down just by a Fenrir cost increase. But anyway, Hap looking like he'll start off the match here with the Medal of Bravery. He'll throw out the Rat Hovel. A bit aggressively, I will add. Maybe it was a misclick. Maybe it was if it was intentional, that's a bit aggressive and a bit of an easy target. But misclicks do happen, so we can't really get too upset about that. But anyway, Fed responding with an Elvish Thief, hoping to kill off the Hovel. But we see Hap opening up with Miner and Rat to kind of block a little bit here. Meanwhile, Fed going to go up to play Merchant's Estate here. And kill off, or at least kill off the Miner with the Thief again to get a little bit of invest going. And we see Fed going to go ahead and throw out the Fat Bard. So not really a lot to do in his hand at the moment. So he'll go ahead and play the Fat Bard, kill off one rat. That'll spawn 2 more. And of course, one going to go ahead and I imagine chip the castle. Yep, perfect, just like that. With his gold, though, Hap's going to play a Dwarven Miner, so not too bad there. However, we do see the Merchant State coming in handy here, avoiding Bard's upkeep, and is able to play the Centaur Bestial Rage combo, which you'll see in a moment, which will take out not only the Hovel, but the Miner as well, and keep the Centaur alive, which is all good stuff. Meanwhile, the Bard going to go ahead and step back and kill off the Rat, so now back in Hap's corner. We'll see if he kills off the Bard, which I imagine he's going to. Tunnel Escape comes out. Okay, interesting. I'm not sure if he was aware, but of course, if you did kill off the Bard in that instance, the Centaur would have fallen, considering that the buff of 1/1 would no longer have been on the field, and since everything loses that 1/1 when the Bard leaves, Centaur would have died there. But that's alright. We'll see if that impacts the game later on. I guess maybe he wanted him to keep the upkeep, even though, honestly, the upkeep doesn't really mean much since the Estate and Bard kind of trade here with how much gold they're messing with here. Bard takes one, Estate gains one, so there's no gain or loss happening. But anyway, back into Fed's corner, he'll throw out the Southport Captain. Pretty much the only move he can do, considering that everything else in his hand doesn't really, you can't really use him too well, but Captain does prompt Lyanna to come out next turn, if the case may be. Dagger Storm, though, will target, the Bard for one. Miner will also step in here, so everything going to be killed off on Fed's side here. Lyanna is going to go ahead and get summoned now from the the treasure from Southport Captain, so meaning that Miner can't necessarily trade with Lyanna here. Dwarven Scope, though, plus Dwarven Weapons, so now a 5/4 with Scope. That'll hit the Lyanna, I believe. Kill off one of those Spirit Trents, which is good for Hap. Spirit Link is always a little bit of a nuisance to get around, but we'll see what happens later on. Phantom Strike onto the Dread Pirate Robins will kill off the Miner, and of course, since the Spirit Link tree is out, the other one will fall, keeping Dread Pirate alive, and of course the extra gold goes to the Hovel, which is going to be played right up there, which, again, not one of the ideal positions, but, again, given the fact that didn't have a lot of places to go with that Hovel, I guess, if you wanted to throw it out now. It's an alright position, I just wouldn't say it's the best. You could have afforded to hold on to it, in my opinion. But anyway, Mordok going to come out now, kill off the Lyanna, and Banshee cleans up the Dread Pirate Robins. Of course, no matter what Hap got to from that Mordok pull, I mean, everything would have been able to kill that Dread Pirate, which, again, astounding power now behind Mordok with the Wraith change, now going to 3 attack. 3 is such a critical point in a card's life right now. Well, that sounds like the card is growing. But 3, you got the idea. 3 health is kind of where everything is at. Important targets, buildings. I've already explained this multiple times, but because of that Wraith going up to 3 attack, now everything from Mordok's pool can potentially kill off a high-value target, like maybe Tarius or a building. So that's kind of interesting to see there. And again, a reason why Mordok continues to remain a powerful unit on top of everything else. But anyway, going back to Fed's turn, we see a Lumberjack, we see a Rat. Not a whole lot he can work with, unfortunately, so Mordok is going to get another free unit here. Again, he can't really lose a whole lot, but we'll see what happens. Mugging on that Lumberjack, so going for Castle, looks like. Not even going to go ahead and kill off the Lumberjack. Plus Fat Bard and Storm Strike, so do a little bit of extra cleanup here. That Storm Strike will get rid of the Rat here, weaken everything else. And of course, the Banshee, I think, will get summoned, right? Yep, so that will finish off the Hovel as well. Opting not to really go for castle damage here. He knows that he can kill it any time here. Mordok, though, from Fed, going to kill off that Banshee. Headless Horseman comes out, greatly snipes off the Mordok, so again, no other unit for Hap. Plus Manicore, okay, so again, more Spirit Link shenanigans, which, again, very hard to maneuver around against if you're not paying attention. Grudgebearer and Flux come out now, so I mean, I think we can chop this one up to more of a Dwarven-based deck. We saw Tunnel Escape, we saw Grudgebearer, so definitely more of a Dwarven deck coming out from Hap's side of the field. But Fed going to go ahead, play an Ancient Arbor. No reason to kind of push anything up here. As you can see, he's holding everything back. Dwarven Weapons from Hap, which is, again, Fist of Donic as well, and Synchronized Strike. So technically, this could have been the game. And again, why it's 30 turns here, this could have been the game here. And let me just kind of quickly point out for those of you who may not be able to see it. Now, right now this board is, if it wasn't for one thing that is on the board currently, this would have been a game over right here. But the mana core is an important aspect here, and it's a heavy mistake to look at, and one that could have been easily avoided here. I'll just kind of let it play out here to show you. Grudgebearer hits Mordock, that goes over to the mana core though, and now we're back in the situation. However, that could have been pretty much the game over, since Grudgebearer does have Thunderstrike. That could have been 8 damage onto the castle, plus, well, I guess not maybe game over, really. But it would have been big damage. Damage. It would have been big damage. I guess maybe I should have done the math on that one before I spoke. But anyway, yeah, it would have brought this game down to Fed having 2 health. And 2 health, by the way, that isn't really healable, considering the, the faction colors that they're playing. But if Flux hit the mana core first, or at least if Flux hit the Ancient Arbor, that triggers the mana core first, he would have been able to get that damage. Yeah, in my mind, for some reason, I'm like, yeah, that's a win. But I forgot there's nothing to really, well, I guess maybe. Actually, that would have been game, right? Because Grudgebearer would have hit Mordock and Castle, prompting Fistodonic to activate. Yeah, that would have been game. I don't know what I'm talking about. Anyway, continuing the matchup here, Fed does have time now to kind of react to this. The big sort of win con was foiled by, oh, hey, mana core exists. But let's see, Grudgebearer being taken out fairly easily by Mordock. Everything else kind of pushing in a little bit here. Dragon's Horde being played. Not a whole lot of options to respond, unfortunately, given that draw. But we'll see how Hap responds. They're both pretty low on cards at this point. Dwarven Scope from Flux, very nice. That will, of course, kill off the Horseman. And in a good position, too, to avoid any sort of, to avoid any sort of shenanigans from Banshee or Arbor. Meanwhile, Master at Arms being played now, and a Vortex, which wields in the Banshee. So now that will be killed off. Excuse me, and of course giving Fed Witch Bolt, which unfortunately will kill off something on this board. And of course you see Headless Horseman being drawn into the hand as well. So some burn potential on this board. Witch Bolt being used to kill Flux, giving Hap another card. Horseman being used to hit the castle, and not really what he wanted, but that's okay. Wizard being played as well. No reason to play the Bestial Rage just yet. Moving Arbor, not in, I guess, position to hit Castle as of now, but again, reminding Hap that, hey, it's here. Dino Rider being brought out. The Master at Arms being used to weaken the Ancient Arbor a little bit. Warrior to push things back. Faith Everlasting heals up the castle a little bit. And I think that will be, that'll be his turn. So back to Fed now. Fed has some options to respond with, or I guess not really a lot, if we're being honest. Another Estate plus Lumberjack. He'll get the Bestial Rage, though, onto the Wizard. That will, of course, do some shenanigans on this board. 3 damage to the Dino Rider. Falls back into more of a position where he can bounce that Wizard back off the castle, which can be a little annoying. He'll throw the Estate and Lumberjack, seeing how there's no really point in keeping them in their hands, so we'll see how that plays out. Dino Rider Part 2 comes out. One will smack the Ancient Arbor. The weaker one will do that anyway. And the Grudgebearer being bought out as well. So, pretty threatening right now on this board. Mana Core and Parrot Rush being bought in. So, Mana Core can use a Spirit Link to defend this a little bit here. Wizard being used to snipe off a little bit from Grudgebearer and a little bit from Dino Rider. Lumberjack being bought in. He'll get another draw, get Call for Aid, which will, of course, be useful. Although I think he is going to opt to play Mana Core Parrot Rush here, because he does want that Spirit Link, just in case anything happens, like a Mercenary's Execution here. That way his castle does have some leverage to survive. Fistodonic now being bought in on the Dino Rider. We'll see. He does unfortunately make that same mistake of Mana Core. Unless maybe that wasn't a mistake that time, given the fact that there is no other way, to get around that. So yeah, I guess that was kind of intentional. Maybe the Donic was a little extra, but maybe he was hoping something would happen with the lightning. I'm not sure. Anyway, back to Fed's turn. He's got 5 health left in the Dream. We'll see if he's able to pull this off. Snipes the Warrior down at the bottom there. Wizard going to go ahead and weaken the Dino Rider. Execution being bought in to kill the Grudgebearer, giving the Dino Rider a bit more health. Dagger Storm being bought in to weaken things here. Bard taking 2. That's not enough to kill, unfortunately, and that will be the surrender from Fed. So ultimately, Hap is still able to bring out the win, which is great. However, we did see that critical mistake, which could have ended the game much, much sooner. If he had hit the Flux on Manicore, that would have led the Grudge Bear to swing at Mordock and hit the castle, and maybe the chain landing. Hopefully, if I remember correctly, should have been able to end the game. Should have been, because I know Grudge Bear does have Thunder Strike, so hitting multiple targets, proccing multiple lightning. So yeah, that could have been an earlier win, but ultimately I think that was still a great match regardless. A great win for Dwarves over the Pirate Druid. Unfortunately, Pirate Druid still a little shaky here in the current day and age, but hopefully they can find their ground maybe sometime in the future. But for now, they will fall to Dwarven decks of all decks, so pretty interesting there, at least in this scenario. But with that being said, I think that's going to be a good match to end off on for this edition of TV Commentary. With that being said, that's going to do it for this edition of TV Commentary. Let me know what you guys thought of the matches by leaving some thoughts down in the comment section below. And while down there, if you haven't done so already, be sure to like the video if you enjoyed, share it with friends, and of course, subscribe if you haven't done so already. Show you support the channel by helping us grow, and click that subscribe button at no additional cost to you. With that being said, folks, that's going to do it for me for now. So, until next time, I almost poked my eye. Stay gaming.